I don't care if you think Statler is forgettable or stupid, because I love him. Statler is one of the best Pokemon in GSCNU. Statler has one simple goal in GSCNU: destroy everything. It is one of, if not the single most threatening Pokemon in the entire metagame. Statler's curse sets lack reliable defensive counterplay. Its famous Curse Light Screen set is fantastic at punishing threats like Octillery. Offensive normal types are very powerful in this tier, and thanks to its move pool, Statler is the most dangerous of them all. Statler can also drop Curse, and use either a Restoxa or its wide supporting move pool. Statler doesn't need boosts to be a threat either, it hits hard without them. Statler is so dangerous offensively that some people consider it to be the most broken Pokemon in GSCNU. This deer does not fuck around. Statler is a Pokemon you need to play extremely carefully around, or it will demolish your team. Let's analyze the Big Horn Pokemon. Right off the bat, Statler has great offensive stats. Its attack is very high by GSCNU standards, and the highest of any normal type. Statler can 3 KO almost every single Pokemon in GSCNU. Period. The few Pokemon that avoid a 3 KO either get 3 KO'd after Spike's damage, like Dewgong and Kingler, or they are rare, like Shuckle is. Statler is also relatively fast, outspeeding prominent metagame threats like Dewgong, Weezing, and Kingler. What really makes Statler so dangerous is its normal typing. Normal is a deadly offensive typing in GSCNU. There are rock types, like Sudowoodo and Graveler, but they aren't Pokemon you can slap on every team. There's only one steel type in Magnemite, and again, you can't fit it on every team. A lot of teams drop normal resist in this tier, so Statler can freely spam its high base power returns. Oh, and by the way, those rock and steel types can't even answer Statler reliably, because Statler packs Earthquake. Earthquake complements normal stab beautifully, because it hits rock and steel types super effectively. Sudowoodo and Graveler are 3 KO'd, Pupitar is 2 KO'd, and Magnemite is 1 hit KO'd. Because of its high attack stat and great stab typing, Statler doesn't have any reliable counters in GSCNU. And when you throw Curse into the mix, Statler goes from having no reliable counters to no reliable checks. Curse boosts Statler's attack and defense, at the cost of a speed drop. After a Curse, Statler is even more threatening, 2-hit KOing almost everything. Curse's defense boost means that Statler is less pressured by physical attackers like Fearow and Explosion. Curse Statler does not have any common defensive checks. You cannot defensively check this set, you can only offensively check it. You might think that special attackers like Xatu, Dewgong, and Octillery can pressure this set after a Curse because they ignore Statler's defense boosts. This isn't that reliable though, because Statler packs Light Screen. Light Screen halves the damage Statler takes from special attacks, so Statler takes little from them after using the move. Statler isn't weak to any special attacking types either. Curse plus Light Screen Statler is fantastic at punishing rest users, like Octillery, Dewgong, Chinchou, Ninetales, and Xatu. It sets up Light Screen to take little from their attacks, sets up Curse, and then tears into the opposing team. Light Screen is even useful after setting up a Curse. Halving the damage taken from Pokemon like Xatu can be game changing. You can, in theory, use Light Screen to support teammates, but you usually just use it to support Statler. Curse Light Screen Statler is an offensive monster, and one of the best ways to punish rest users. It's a very splashable wall breaker, and it can be made even more powerful with support. Curse Statler is arguably the most dangerous late game cleaner in the tier. It's very good at tearing through weakened teams. Statler can also war with Curse Wigglytuff and Dunsparce. It can come in on a rest from a +1 normal, curse up, and then try to beat them. It's pretty unreliable at beating them because it doesn't use rest, but it almost always leaves them severely weakened, letting a strong special attacker like Octillery finish them off. As mentioned earlier, it doesn't need to click Curse in order to be a major threat. Curse Statler isn't beholden to Light Screen either. Hypnosis can be used to sleep opponents, and then use their sleeping turns as an opportunity to set up Light Screen. If you manage to sleep something like Pineco or Weezing, that is game changing. Hypnosis can also disrupt Sleep Talkers, as they now have a chance to pull rest as Statler sets up. Protect is also a viable option over Light Screen. This will allow Statler to gain additional leftovers recovery at crucial times, which could lead to an additional KO. Protect can also be used to dodge Explosion from Pokemon like Weezing, Pineco, Graveler, and Sudowoodo. Regardless of what set it runs, Curse Statler is a monster. You have to play around this set with extreme caution. If you give it free turns, expect your team to turn into deer food. Try to keep your faster special attackers, explosion users, and cross-chop users alive. Statler can actually drop Curse though. A Rest Talk set with Return, Earthquake, Rest, and Sleep Talk is very much viable. With this set, Statler trades power for better longevity and status absorption. Rest Talk Statler is better at switching into the likes of Chinchou and Dewgong long term than its non-Rest Talk sets would be. It doesn't mind paralysis from Chinchou, Gloom, or Porygon nearly as much because it can just rest it off. This set is a very good battering ram. It's still a big offensive threat because it's fucking Statler. Rest Talk Statler used to be the Deer's most prominent set, but it declined in popularity after the discovery of curse sets. The biggest problem with Rest Talk Statler is the poor matchup against Xatu. Xatu outspeeds and 3 KOs you, and you don't 2 KO it back. If you are sleep talking against Xatu, you have a chance to pull the useless Earthquake. I think this set's underrated in the current metagame though. It's pretty annoying for the newly popular Graveler teams. Statler also has a wide supporting move pool. It learns Light Screen, Hypnosis, Reflect, and Thief. A set with Hypnosis and Thief used to be popular in the late slot, but this set is generally outclassed by Persian, who is much faster. Statler can support its teammates on Baton Pass or Hyper Offense teams with screens. You generally want Statler to sweep on these teams though, so this set is rare. Statler is a staple on offensive teams in GSCNU. It's one of the most splashable wall breakers in the metagame. Spike support from Pineco makes Statler's attacks sting more and help wear down the opposing team. Weezing or Gloom are great partners for Statler, as their fighting resistance lets them check fighting types like Primeape and Hitmonlee. Gloom can also spread paralysis and act as a secondary check to Chinchou and Hidden Power Electric Octillery. Other paralysis spreaders, like Chinchou and Porygon, are also good partners. Explosion support from Pokemon like Weezing, Pineco, or Sudowoodo can be used to systematically remove threats from the opposing team, making Statler more threatening. No Pokemon is better at abusing rest from Pokemon like Octillery or Dewgong than Light Screen Statler is. Pokemon that frequently force these waters to rest, like Xatu, are nice offensive partners. If you use Rest Talk Statler, it's advisable to use a reliable switch into Xatu, like Dewgong or Magnemite. Octillery and Dewgong appreciate Rest Talk Statler as a partner because the deer can switch into Chinchou. While Statler is amazing though, there are some flaws holding it back. While Statler is broken offensively, it's much worse defensively. Statler's bulk is mediocre, and it doesn't have any resistances. Nearly everything can 3-KO Statler. Statler's normal typing also means that Primeape and Hitmonlee can threaten it. Primeape in particular can crit through its curse boost with Cross Chop. Statler's meager bulk makes it more feasible to revenge kill it with faster special attackers like Xatu and Magmar, as well as water types after a curse. Statler is also vulnerable to explosion, which still does immense damage after a curse. If Statler drops Sleep Talk, it also despises status, and this stops it from abusing Pokemon like Gloom and Chinchou. While Statler is relatively fast, it's a step below the likes of Xatu, Magmar, Fearow, and Primeape in the speed department. Statler can't always sweep, and it can be limited to just 1 KO a game. Its complete lack of defensive utility can make fitting Statler awkward at times. It's very, very worth it to use Statler though, because it's a fucking monster. Statler will not stop until you are dead. Anyway, history-wise, Statler has been one of the most successful Pokemon in GSCNU. It has never been bad across the 4 different eras of GSCNU. It was a dangerous Pokemon in the Mr. Mime metagame. The Mr. Mime metagame was structurally similar to the current metagame, so Statler shined. Back then, threats to Statler, like Weezing, Hitmonlee, and Primeape weren't in the metagame, so Statler had an easier time. It mostly used non-curse sets though, because people hadn't figured out their full potential. Aside from Shuckle, it had no defensive answers. It 2-KO'd Mr. Mime and 1-KO'd Pikachu. It also had Earthquake for Haunter, who was immune to normal. Statler declined a small bit in popularity after the 2018 Turing shifts though. Pokemon that gave Statler trouble, like Primeape and Weezing, were now in the metagame. It was also quite poor against Feraligatr, because people still weren't using curse sets. Statler used either Rest Talk or a Thief Hypnosis set. Statler did improve when Feraligatr was banned, because its replacement Poliwrath was easier for Statler to beat. Statler wasn't bad at all, quite the contrary, but it wasn't one of the best Pokemon in the tier. Eventually, Raichu, Golduck, Feraligatr, and Poliwrath would all get banned, and we would enter the modern metagame. Early on, Statler was about as good as it was in the Mr. Mime metagame. It ran Rest Talk and Thief sets, and it was a dangerous normal type. It wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good. In December 2020 though, a new Statler set would be discovered. Not to brag or anything, but in December 2020, I invented Cursed Light Screen Statler. There was some initial skepticism on this set, but people quickly realised its threat potential, and it became Statler's premier set. I've done a lot for GSCNU, and I think the thing I'm most proud of is inventing Cursed Light Screen Statler. Statler was already trending upwards, and the discovery of its curse set put it on the path to stardom. Statler would get more and more viable as 2021 and 2022 went on. By the end of 2022, Statler was considered a top tier Pokemon. When the GSCNU viability rankings were updated in March 2023, Statler was ranked as the 5th best Pokemon in GSCNU. It's one of the most iconic Pokemon in GSCNU, and it's considered the most broken Pokemon in the tier for a very, very good reason. I love you, Statler, and I hope the rest of your future is bright.